Hello, hello. I am gonna wait until everybody shows up, at least one person shows up, and then I'll get started. Let's see. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. All right, I'll give it a second. Hi. I never know how to do this, so I'm gonna. Oh, that's what I have to do. Okay. Okie dokie. I'm gonna see all the comments here. Okay, let's give it a minute. Maybe everybody's running on African time. And this was, of course, this would happen. There we go. All right, we are live. Are you here? Anybody coming? I'm so excited. Been pumped up listening to one of my favorite playlists. I'm so excited for today. And of course, this presentation is about time management, but who am I kidding? It's Sunday evening, mom life. Show up when you can. If you're catching this in the replay, comment in the comments, replay. And yeah, I'm going to wait 2 more minutes, 6:05, get started. Facebook, I would like for you to let me be great, just for once. Hey, Valentina. Hey, Amanda. Right, I'm channeling my poetic justice braids. Yeah. Okay. All right. What would be nice, Facebook? Hey, Dantry. Hey, Valentina. Hey, Amanda. All right. Well, we have got a few people here. You feel free to drop in the comments where you're watching from. If you are a mom, tell us a little bit about your kiddos or kiddo. Yeah, this is going to be pretty interactive for the most part. I would like to, know where you're watching from, where are you? So drop your comments, drop an emoji, whatever makes you happy. I am so excited to be here today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Okay, I'm going to give Amanda a task. Amanda, can you tell me if you can hear me? She's the best. All right, I am good. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Amanda. You're a rock star. It is 6:05, so we are going to get started. If you're watching this live, thank you for being here. If you're watching the replay, I'm so glad you get to catch it. Give me 1 second. Facebook, we need to know how we can be friends. All right, there we go. Facebook is muted. Everything's muted. I am ready to go. So a little bit about me. My name is Cheryl Bergbauer. If you see me looking down, I'm just trying to, on Facebook, to see what Facebook lets me see versus I am actually recording outside of Facebook on eCam, so sometimes there's some sort of like I can't see who's here, I can't see who's watching, and I want to make sure that I honor the fact that you guys are here and be respectful of your time. So, all right. Hi, Mwikali. I'm so glad you're here. All right, so let's get started. My name is Shira Bergbauer. I am a mom, a wife, a life coach, a nurse anesthetist, a lover of life. Are you tired yet? A sister, a daughter, all the things. And I am a mother of 3-year-old Isabella and married to my husband, Michael. Michael and I have been together for 12 years, and we have a 3-year-old. So I have been a mom since 2018. So I started on the motherhood journey on Halloween 2017. That was the day I found out that I conceived. And I battled postpartum depression and postpartum rage as part of my motherhood journey. And so I want to show you my t-shirt before I get started. This is my war cry. This is what I do the work that I do for. I want to empower all of us, myself, and all of you. So anyway, I battled postpartum rage, postpartum depression, had a lot of trouble with breastfeeding, nursing my daughter, struggled a lot with that. And I decided that if I came out the other side stronger, I was going to make sure that I held space for every mom, every woman who needed my help. That was like, I was going to do that. Come rain or high water, I was going to do it. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was going to do it. So I'm trying to see if I can see the chat, but I cannot see the chat. Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to drop an emoji to see. Okay, there we go. So where was I? So I decided that I was going to support and love on each one of y'all, and that I was going to honor this journey and this pain that I went through, and I was going to take that pain, grow from it, as you see back there, sorry. And I grew and I bloomed. And the first thing I want to tell all of y'all today is you are enough. You can see it back there. That is the thing that I want you to walk away with today. This workshop is about time management for working moms, but we're going to explore some mindset stuff. We're going to explore priorities, and we are going to explore some pain points that all mothers have, and you're not alone. So if you sometimes feel that there are not enough hours of the day, that you can't seem to get enough done, or that everything like is just a lot going on in your life, you are not alone. I just want to share with you, though, that I can help you figure this thing out. My vision and mission is to help working moms, especially moms in medicine, create the work-life motherhood balance that they want on their terms, not what society is saying is work-life balance, not what your husband thinks, what you think is work-life balance. I want to help you create that, and I want to help you overcome mom guilt, get rid of burnout, and navigate the burnout journey if you do experience it. I want you to be able to create space for yourself, and I want you to show up as the highest version of yourself. I want you to just go on a 5-second journey with me. I want you to just picture yourself. It's spring 2022. You are living your best life. You have figured out how to flex your no muscle, say no to the things that don't serve you, say hell yeah to the things that fuel you. You're thriving in your career. You're thriving in your motherhood journey. You give yourself grace. You communicate with your partner. You don't yell at your kids. You don't yell at your husband. You don't resent your husband. You are showing up for yourself and holding space for yourself. This is available to every one of us. And I want you to be 100% confident that this is available to you too. So this workshop is going to be pretty interactive. It's going to be a lot of teaching. Take notes. I will say that I will send a link after the workshop if you want to get on my email list, you will have, if you join my email list in the next 48 hours, you will get access to a private podcast where this whole, the audio for this whole thing is going to be recorded, and you will also get the video recording of this live, the workshop. So thank you again for your time. I had every intention of doing this whole thing standing. However, I had this work night 24-hour shift yesterday, and I threw my back out. And I'm trying really hard. I promise you, I'm not being lazy. I'm trying really hard. But also, going to speak about time, I barely got any rest yesterday. And I was so glad that I was intentional about creating this workshop so that I would show up and be so ready, and you would get exactly what you came for. So I also want you to go with this with the mindset of you will get whatever you came for if you show up ready to learn something. You will get the lessons that you need, the tools that you need, and you will be so ready to navigate this for the future. All right, so let's get started. Before I get started, I'm going to let you know that there are resources that I will mention. If you're interested in them, I will copy them. I will link them in the comments too, or I'll create a separate post. But just stay open-minded. You don't have to actually watch me teaching. You can put in your AirPods, go on about your business. Just be ready to learn. All right, so let's get started. Like I said, this workshop is about time management. And so without further ado, I do not want to waste your time. All right, so if I sit down, remember, I'm not lazy, I promise. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is, what is time? I am a reader and a very studious person, so I like dictionary definitions. And the Merriam-Webster dictionary describes time as the thing that is measured as seconds, minutes, hours, days, or years, etc. It's also the measure or measurable period during which an action, process, or condition exists or continues, duration. It's a non-spatial continuum that is measured in terms of events which succeed one another from past through present to future. The reason I give you the definition of time, because we all make time mean different things. And what I want you to walk away from this workshop knowing is that you have thoughts about time, but the definition of time doesn't change. Time is time. Time, my time, Amanda's time, Dantry's time, Tabitha's time, anybody's time is your time. You get to decide what it means, okay? So that's the first thing. So part of my coaching, like I mentioned, I'm a life coach. I use the Life Coach School model to work through thoughts and situations that are creating thoughts for me. And so the model is very simple. It's created by an amazing, intelligent woman named Brooke Castillo. So attribution credit to her for creating the model. But I use the model with a combination of Byron Katie's work. If you are not familiar with Byron Katie, I implore you to get her book, Loving What Is. Start there. I promise you your life will change forever. So what are circumstances? Circumstances include things like time. A circumstance is something neutral. It's literally something you can present in a court of law and say, this exists. I can go to a court of law and say, this cup is blue. There is writing on it that says summer vibes. This is a black sweatshirt with white writing on it. These are glasses. This is my hand. That is a circumstance. Sometimes we think our thoughts are circumstances. So for example, you're like, I don't have enough time. You're like, that's factual. I do not have enough time. And I have this conversation with my clients a lot when they're like, I don't have time. I never have time. I'm like, yeah, that's a thought. And the reason I share that is because I want you to have clarity on where we are going with this conversation, because we're going to use the model in a lot of instances in this conversation. So circumstances are always neutral, right? When I do relationship coaching, for example, when somebody says, my husband said this, and they tell me the circumstance is my husband is rude or my husband is disrespectful, I make it very clear that that is a thought. So I say, I want you to write in your model, husband said words, or husband did this thing. There's no emotion attached to it. It's neutral. Thoughts can be positive or negative. You can think, I never have time, or I have plenty of time. And you can decide which one of that is positive or negative, right? Then you have feelings that are also positive or negative. Positive feelings, before I forget, I know I digress a lot, but I want to show you this thing. Oh my gosh. My clients tell me all the time, I don't know what I'm feeling. If you don't know what you're feeling, I want you to stop everything, even this workshop, buy this book, Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart. It's a book about mapping meaningful connection in the language of human experience. Some of you don't know how to describe shame. Some of you don't know how to describe that you're angry, you're feeling angry. Seriously, get this book. Your life will change. I promise you. If you're new here, if you've never met me before or never heard me speak, I just want you to know that I love Brene Brown. I love her so much. Her work changed my life. And people want to meet all these famous people. My life dream is to meet Brene Brown at HEB. I will probably pass out before I say hello. And I'm never speechless. I will probably run out of words. I love her so much. I digress. Okay, so feelings are either positive or negative. Actions are also either positive or negative. So positive means like you're taking action in a positive direction, you're taking action, or you're not taking action, so inaction. Then the result, this is very important to note. Your thought line on your model always reflects your results. So the results can also either be positive or negative, meaning they can either be wanted or unwanted, but you decide. Okay, before we get into the circumstance, I want to read something to you, and it says, situations don't cause feelings. This is from the book Time Warrior by Steve Chandler. One person sees rain and gets sad because of their story about rain that they're believing. Quote unquote, it's gloomy, it means I'll be cooped up. One person sees rain and gets happy because of their story about the rain. It's refreshing, it's romantic, it grows my garden. It's the same rain in both cases. Rain has no meaning until we add it. Each person believes that the rain is causing the feeling, but in neither case is the rain causing the feeling. In both cases, it's the thought believed that it's causing the feeling. I'll give you another example. The scale. Some people get on the scale and they get so angry. My daughter gets on the scale and she's like, yippee, I'm growing. Same scale, same house, same environment, different reactions. It's not the scale. It's her thought about the scale versus my thought or my husband's thoughts about the scale. Because sometimes we get on and we're like, and then sometimes we're like, oh my God, my diet's working. Same scale, same circumstance. Okay? So why am I sharing that? Before we get there, before I get to that, I'm going to talk to you about time utilization. I want you to take just a minute. After we're done with this workshop, I'm going to have you take actually 5 minutes. I want you to write down everything you did in the last 24 hours. Everything, like literally, like I woke up, brushed my teeth, got in my car, went to work, did this, did that. Every single thing you did, scrolled Facebook, did everything you did, right? And I want you to do it without judging yourself, because the worst thing to do is spend time judging your past or worrying about the future. So I just want that to be like a database of how you spend your current time. Then what I want you to do, and don't cheat, because now you know the second part of the question. I want you to think that if you had 24 hours left to live, like if I told you you will be gone tomorrow at 6:21 p.m. Central Standard Time, what would you do with that time? Then I want you to take those two lists and decide for yourself, which of the things that you did in the last 24 hours would you actually do? And which of those things would you actually not do? The other thing that I want you to think about is your core values. And I will share the podcast episode that I did about that. I want you to think about what you consider your core values and decide ahead of time that you will honor your core values, and then go back and look at your life and your time utilization and ask yourself if you're honoring your core values. Okay, so thoughts on time. The thought that I like to share with my clients is, I want to fix this, driving me insane. Okay, there we go. The thoughts that I like to share with my clients is that there are 24 hours in a day. I get to decide what I do with that time, okay? So I want you to answer these questions for me mentally. Just double check in the comments. Okay. Do you have enough time? Yes or no? If you answered yes, why did you answer yes? Why do you have enough time? If you answered no, why not? And you can feel free to drop in the comments what your response is. There's no judgment here. This is a no judgment zone. You can always sit with me and I will not judge you. I just want to help you see your own mind. And then what do you think takes up your time? And then I want to ask yourself, what do you believe about your past? One of the most powerful exercises that I do with my coaching clients is we have the conversation about what do they feel about the decisions that they made in the past, and what do they want to feel about those decisions. So a lot of my coaching will involve like relationships or money. And, I'll have my clients say, I have these feelings about debt, and I have these feelings about relationships that didn't go the way I wanted them to go. And I ask them to intentionally think what they want to believe about their past, right? Part of Byron Katie's 4 questions is, who are you when you believe that thought, whatever thought it is about your past? And then who would you be without that thought? Right? Like if you believe that if you have had debt in the past, or if you believe that somehow your current weight is a reflection of you as a human being and you're flawed and you're messed up, who are you when you're thinking that thought? And then who are you without that thought? It's such a powerful question to ask yourself. Okay, so what do you believe about your past? All right. So going back to the model, this is a model of time. Remember we said time is a circumstance. I already gave you the dictionary definition of time. Okay, so time is 100% a circumstance. We're not going to argue about that, okay? If you think the thought that you don't have enough time, and it creates the feeling of overwhelm, what usually happens when you feel overwhelmed is that you continue to procrastinate. And procrastination is a nice way of avoiding pain. And I tell my clients, there is nothing wrong with the fact that you've been procrastinating. What is wrong is that if you have the information that I give you now and you continue to decide to procrastinate, then it is not happening to you. You're making the choice. The reason why I say there is nothing wrong with procrastination is because of something called the motivational triad. So back in the day when we lived in caves, we had to survive. And in order for us to survive, we had to make sure that we could continue the species. And so, our ancestors used to get eaten by lions all the time. I mean, yours are not here. I mean, those of us that are here are not obviously descendants of ancestors that got eaten by lions, because we wouldn't be here, but that's not the point. But maybe some of your family got eaten, and so that generation didn't continue. This is the brain's primal method of protecting us. Our brain is like, we do not like pain. I don't want to feel any discomfort. So if something is creating a feeling of overwhelm, your thought that is, and you procrastinate, it's because you're avoiding pain and you're trying to conserve energy. When we lived in caves, right, after we had gone on a huge hunt and we ate like the meal, we just laid in the cave because we're like, we have to lie down and digest the food. We don't want to go outside because now our stomachs are full. Like, what if we get eaten by a lion? You don't want to get eaten by a lion, do you? I don't. And then also, like, you need to conserve energy because, like, if you get chased by a lion when you go for your next hunt, you want to have a lot of energy, right? And then we're primed to seek pleasure, right? Our prefrontal cortex has developed but our primal brain still exists. So when you procrastinate, it's because you're thinking with your primal brain. So nothing has gone wrong. It's literally like this thing that exists in you. And I tell my mom clients, I like just named my primal brain after my daughter. I'm like, that's my Bella brain. That's my 3-year-old brain that like literally thinks that if I need to do all these things, I'm literally going to die. Or it hurts and I don't want to feel any discomfort. I don't want to feel shame. I don't want to feel embarrassment. I don't want to feel fear. I want to feel all the nice feelings. I mean, why would I want to feel pain when I could feel delight, right? But growth happens when we allow ourselves to feel pain, when we allow ourselves to get uncomfortable, and we allow ourselves to utilize energy, right? So the other thing that happens when you feel overwhelmed is that you buffer in order to avoid. So you Netflix and chill, you go on Facebook, and you're on TikTok for 3 hours, and you're like texting your girlfriends for an hour, and then you're taking selfies. Don't get triggered. These are things that I myself have done, so I'm not judging you, right? You're like, oh, I need to rearrange my closet. So then you rearrange your closet, right? Because that's less painful than, like, for example, like tackling like tax bill or like paying the mortgage and like getting on top of stuff, right? Nobody wants to feel pain. The problem is when you have the belief that you don't have enough time, in the action line, there's very little positive momentum forward. You're taking backward momentum, right? So what happens is that then you don't have enough time. Okay, so that is a model of a person who believes that they don't have enough time, and that is many of us a lot of the time. Okay, when you have the thought that you have enough time, and before I actually get into that, I just want you to know, like, beliefs are literally thoughts that we think over and over and over and over again, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Beliefs about monogamy. Like, I believe that if you're married, you stick to your husband. Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith believe like they can have extra partners in their marriage. I'm right and they're right. It's just they have a whole bunch of thoughts that created that belief for them, and I have a whole bunch of thoughts, including but not limited to African upbringing, Christian upbringing, the gods must be crazy upbringing, not forgetting the fact that like my ancestors, like 5 generations down, had no problem with having multiple wives. Actually, in my culture, there is a woman who is like a hero of our time, Wangua Makeri. She had multiple husbands. It was a thing, right? Back then, they had those thoughts that created those beliefs, right? So they were right. I'm right. Everybody's right. It's just a set of beliefs, right? So when you even get to the belief that you don't have enough time, I want you to remember that it's a constant, like that is the programming you feed your brain, right? Like if you were constantly drinking water, right, you would keep going to the bathroom. If you didn't drink water, you may be dehydrated. It's the thing that you keep inputting and then you get output, right? Okay, so a person who believes that they have enough time, when you get in the energy of you have enough time, you're abundant and at ease. Like there's no time scarcity for you. So what do you do? How do you show up when you believe the thought, I have enough time? And who are you when you believe the thought that you have enough time? You plan strategically, you use your time wisely, and what happens is that then you have enough time to complete your tasks, right? Now, before I lose you here, I want you to think of this as I am currently here, and sometimes I waver back to I don't have enough time. However, nothing has gone wrong even when I think I don't have enough time. I just want you to think of this as a ladder, right? Like you're trying to hang ornaments at the top of this Christmas tree. I'm not an artist. Please don't judge my drawing. Okay? I don't have enough time. At the top of the ladder is the thought, I have enough time. In order for you to get to the top of the Christmas tree to hang the topper, the angel topper, you have to go through the rungs of the Christmas tree, right? Like you can't like, I mean, unless you've got like magically long legs, you can't go from here to here. So for many of my clients and for many of you who are watching, you might think, oh my gosh, how does she expect me to go from thinking I don't have enough time to I have enough time? I don't. I really do not. Okay? I want you to create some ladder thoughts and create evidence for yourself when you think the thought, I have enough time versus I don't have enough time. Give yourself evidence for the times when you've had enough time. Create that mental evidence for yourself. So one of my amazing mentors, Stacey Bayman, she described this in her podcast so beautifully. Think of your brain as a courthouse. Your soul is the judge. You have your defense, which is the defense is your future self, which is your positive, like rooting for you, advocating for you. And then you have the loudmouth prosecutor, which are your limiting beliefs, such as, I don't have enough time. When they go to the courthouse, they all tell the judge, like, Your Honor, she never has enough time. These are all the examples, right? And then your defense is like, Your Honor, yes, she does. These are all the things she's accomplished in her life. She has a job. She shows up to work on time. She does all these things. She has enough time. Now, your soul gets to decide who do you want to listen to, right? If you choose to listen to Mr. You don't have enough time, then that guy wins the case. Like the jury is going to be like, Your Honor, Mr. Prosecutor presented the best evidence. She doesn't have time. Versus Your Honor, her defense is strong. She has enough time. So how do you get from this thought to this thought? You start with little thoughts, building evidence for yourself. When you think the thought, I don't have enough time, ask yourself, is that true? Is that really, really true? I don't have enough time. Like there's 24 hours in the day and I don't have enough time. Factual. I can go to court, prove that. Okay. If your answer is yes, can you absolutely know that it's true? Right? Okay. Let's say you say, yeah, I absolutely know it's not true. It's true. I don't have enough time. Period. Point blank. I'm done. Okay. Question number 3. Who are you when you believe in the thought that you don't have enough time? Like, what are you doing or what are you not doing? And then ask yourself, if I didn't believe this thought, who would I be? Right? I would be a person who strategically plans, who is living in abundance and using my time wisely and creating enough time to complete my tasks, right? So that's one way. The other way is a thought that I usually offer my clients is, I have everything I need. Right now. Sometimes they say, no, I don't. And I'm like, okay, do you have a pulse? Yeah, that's it. That's all you need. Do you have a brain? You have a brain and a pulse. You have everything you need. Because all the things in your life are created here, between your ears, in the brain. Okay? A reflection of your life, your current job, your current relationships, your current friendships, your motherhood journey is a result of the cumulative thoughts that you have been thinking from childhood to now about everything in your life. Fact. Okay. And I may sit down in a second. So how do we create time? Mama is tired. Oh. Okay. How do we create time? How do we create time? Hi, Cindy. Hi, Erica. Yeah, Miss Busybody. Like, Erica would understand why I was saying I didn't think that I would be able to stand for this workshop because my back is like stiff as a board. I literally, I'm like walking like a grandmother. Hi, Erica. Hi, Lister, Kelsey. Thank you for joining. All right, so I'm going to continue. So where was I? How do you create time? You create time by becoming a time warrior. And if you are interested in digging deeper a little more and reading about becoming a time warrior, Steve Chandler's book is really good. But I'll tell you one caveat because I tell this to my clients too. If you take a self-help book and you decide to read it, before you read the next self-help book, you must implement 4 to 5 things that you learned in that self-help book before you go to the next thing. When you take this workshop, I implore you to take 2 to 3 things that you learned here, put them in action, before you read the next book, before you do the next thing. I promise you, you will see changes in your life. I guarantee you, actually. So, how do you create time? You take massive action. Massive action means it's not passive action. Life is not happening to you. You are choosing life to happen. Deciding on purpose, deciding what is important to you, and creating that life for yourself. Planning, practicing constraint. So many of us are living in such scarcity that we are so terrified of time running out, life running out. Like the concept of the fear of missing out is literally based on the fact that we have no constraint, that we think that if we don't go to the thing or we don't eat the thing or do the thing, it's over. Again, going back to the motivational triad, I want you to remember that is your toddler brain running around with a knife telling you this is the last Black Friday sale of the millennium. Okay? You need that thing. Get that air fryer because if you don't get it today, you're going to die. Oh, you have to get on Facebook today because today on the group, there's a conversation that you don't want to miss. You have to show up. The other thing is being okay with failure. This triggers all of us. Many of us are high achieving women who have worked so hard to get where we are. We don't like discomfort. We don't like to fail. There is so much magic in failing. When you try something, you practice it, it works, it doesn't work, you try it again, you tweak it a little bit, you try it again, it tweaks, and then you're like, perfect, I got it. Flexing your no muscle. Moms, y'all kill me. Say yes to all the things. Living in I should, I must, I should do this. My children need to do 5 million activities. I need to show up at this thing and this other thing and this other thing. And my life needs to be like loaded with things. And the moms groups are saying we need to be doing this with our kids. My kid needs to learn how to read. My mother-in-law wants me to bake this thing tomorrow. My boss asked me to join this committee. And I just have to say yes. And I want you to know. Okay? This is your permission slip. I'm going to write it down for you. This is your permission slip from me and Stethoscopes to Swaddles, LLC. No is a complete sentence. You don't want to do things? Nope. Doubting if you want to show up at that event that you really don't feel like? Nope. And I'll tell you why we don't say no. We refuse to say no because we don't want to disappoint others. But what we forget to remember is saying no to others, saying yes to other people sometimes means saying no to ourselves. And in what lifetime do you want to spend your life saying yes to everybody but the one person that matters, which is you? I want you to start thinking about saying, actually not no, but hell no. Not doing it. I will not be doing that. Okay, I'm going to read you something else. If you desired to change the world, where would you start? With yourself or others? Alexander Sollerstein. All right. Then I'm going to read you another one. The best futures get created in the present moment. The worst thing is to be so worried about your future that you miss creating it now, right here in the present moment, the only place it can ever be created. Okay, going back to saying no, I'm going to share this one other thing from Steve Chandler's book. Try risking your identity because you have to be able to risk your identity for a bigger future than the present you are living. Fernando Flores. All right. Now, let's get to work. Maybe Mama's back can tolerate standing up a little more. Okay, got a little break. I think I'm feeling good. Okay. This is I'm going to come back to this slide. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. Okay, so you're like, oh, okay, I'm doing the most, I'm doing all the things, I'm not getting anything done, but you're not productive. Going back to our conversation, your result line is always a reflection of your thoughts. Yes. Hafiz says, fear of failure is the primary reason that I am stuck. quote unquote, I need to get into the mental frame of mind to take on my next goal. Valentina says, the best medicine for fear is action. Hafiz, I'm going to give you an exercise to try at home. And for all of you that are struggling with fear, I want you to sit in the discomfort of fear. And actually, I'm going to find, I think Brene actually talks about fear in this book. So since this is going to be interactive, I want to give y'all actionable steps. What I want you to do is imagine the thing that you're afraid of doing. I want you to sit in that fear. I want you to close your eyes and imagine that you're scared of doing the thing. Why are you afraid of doing the thing? I want you to actually take a notebook and write down, I am afraid, and you can actually share in the comments if you want us to know, but I am afraid of doing X because of X, okay? I want you to think about sitting in fear. And I'm going to read you something from Brene's book. I shared it at the beginning. It's Atlas of the Heart, and I'll share the link to the book after this workshop. And in chapter 1, she talks about places we go when things are uncertain or too much. Stress, overwhelm, anxiety, worry, avoidance, excitement, dread, fear, and vulnerability. So I'm going to go to fear. Again, if you don't know, I love me some Brene. Just want to throw that out there, in case the algorithm sends her my way. Fear, where are you? Yeah. Stress, overwhelm, anxiety. It's coming. So one of the reasons that we're afraid of taking risks is because we're afraid of what people will say, and we're afraid of failing. The thing is that if we are vulnerable, and vulnerability is the emotion that we experience during times of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure, we can have so much growth in that moment. Because while these emotions are uncomfortable and difficult, there's no evidence that they're an indicator of weakness. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. I have shared this before, that courage is from the heart. You know what's funny? She doesn't talk about fear in this thing. I'm trying to look for it. She's talking about anxiety. Well, that's weird. Anyway, I thought she was going to go deep into fear. Oh, here it is. She does talk. Okay, I'm sorry, Brene. I apologize. I misspoke. So when you're vulnerable, you really are practicing courage. And courage comes, the Latin base of courage is core, from the heart. Not a lot of people do stuff from the heart. If you're afraid and vulnerable, you're on the right track. Okay, fear, Hafiz, I'm going to tell you. Fear is a negative, and I want you to underline, think about what I'm going to say next. Short-lasting, high-alert emotion in response to a perceived threat, and like anxiety, it can be measured as a state or trait. Some people have a higher propensity to experience fear than others. Fear arises when we need to respond quickly to physical or psychological danger that is present and imminent. Because fear is a rapid-fire emotion, the physiological reaction can sometimes occur before we even realize that we are afraid. The typical responses are fight, flight, or freeze. In the research, you can find many lists of what elicits fear in us. These items range from rodents and snakes to the inability to see our surroundings to observing our children in peril. However, no matter how much the lists vary, one item is on every list I've seen: the fear of social rejection. We can never forget that we experience social pain and physical pain in the same part of our brains, and the potential exposure to either type of pain drives fear. To close this section, I want to go back to my friend and mentor, Dr. Harriet Lerner. She writes, throughout evolutionary history, anxiety and fear have helped every species be wary and to survive. Fear can signal us to act or alternatively resist the impulse to act. It can help us make wise, self-protective choices in and out relationships when we might otherwise sail mindlessly along, ignoring signs of trouble. Like all the other experiences in this book, both our anxiety and our fear need to be understood and respected, perhaps even befriended. That is what I tell my clients. Make friends with your negative emotions. We need to pull up a chair and sit with them, understand why they're showing up, and ask ourselves what there is to learn. Dismissing fear and anxiety as not useful to our quest for connection is as dangerous as choosing to live in constant fear and anxiety. Hafiz, to continue your homework, I want you to think, going back to what Brene said, it's a short-lasting emotion. I want you to imagine the thing that you're afraid of doing. Imagine that you've done it. And I also want you to imagine, why are you afraid of doing that thing? If it's fear of failure, why are you afraid of failing? Are you afraid of shame? Are you afraid of being embarrassed? And then I want you to think about a time when you felt shame. And how long did that shame last in the system? I just coached one of my clients on this the other day. She said she was worried about not getting something that she wanted, and she was afraid that her colleagues would like think that she wasn't worthy or not enough. And I said, okay, in 24 hours when you spend time with your friends and your colleagues, how many minutes are you thinking that thought? And it was like 2 minutes, right? But when you're so afraid, you're like, it's fear is going to last forever. Shame is going to last forever. I'm going to be in shame 26 hours out of 24 hours a day. I want you to be so self-aware of that feeling in worst case scenario and get comfortable with it. Because can you imagine if all of us, if our ancestors never left the cave, right? They would have died of hunger anyways, going back to the motivational triad. So don't let fear stop you from living life because your ego is like, we are going to be so embarrassed. Everybody's going to hate us. They're going to think we're stupid. Who do you think you are to do that thing? Who do you think you are to show up and like think you're like all that? Who do you think you are? By the way, you guys don't know Hafiz. Hafiz and I started off as nurses 15 years ago. She is now a dentist, amazing woman. So Hafiz, like, give your brain the evidence. Like, you went to dental school at like, you're like, I conquered fear and did that. What is all these other things that I'm afraid of doing? I did it afraid. I made it out the other side. But make friends with those negative emotions. It's so much growth in there, you guys. So much growth. Okay. What are the 4 thieves of productivity? The first thing I want you to remember is that multitasking is a lie. So many of you are like, I did this thing and then I was doing this thing and then I was doing this thing. And the way I look at it is like, I'm not good at drawing. Just full disclosure here. There's one you, there's mommy, and she's like dividing herself into 10. So each person's getting 10%, 10%, 10%. You're doing 10 things at once, and you think you're doing them very well. But actually, excuse my French, all you're doing is half-assing them. You're giving 10% of your attention here, 10% there, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing this thing. The concept of multitasking actually came when we first started using computers, and it was a way to describe how many tasks the central processing unit of a computer would be doing at one time. We are not computers. So when people talk about multitasking and how good they are at multitasking, I'm like, you're just good at half-assing things. Like, that's just factual. If you're multitasking, you're just very, very good at doing things half-assed. Nothing's getting 100% of your attention. If you are scrolling Facebook and trying to write an email, you're half-assing. Either the email's going to be half-assed or your time on social media is going to be half-assed. If you're trying to do something with your kids, but you're trying to scroll Facebook, either you're not paying attention to Facebook or you're not paying attention to your kids. You can't give both 100% at the same time. It's not humanly possible. Okay? Going back to the 4 thieves of productivity, the inability to say no. Again, where's that permission slip? Here's your permission slip. Oops. No. Complete sentence. Are you coming? No. Are you going to do this? No. Can you pick up this extra shift? No. Can you come to work when your kid's sick? No. No. Okay? Can you join this extra committee? No. The second thing that is a thief of productivity, and I want to be good on time, is fear of chaos. You're so afraid of like you want to start doing something in your office and you're like, oh, I got to organize everything in the office. You want to start cooking dinner. You're like, I got to make everything pretty in the kitchen. You want to like go do something. You're like, oh, I got to organize all these things. The fear of chaos costs you so much time because you're trying to be perfect in order to start, then you never take action. It's actually a form of buffering. When you're like, oh, let me just organize everything and then get started, that's buffering. Poor health habits, 100%. If you're not taking care of your health, you're not taking care of your time, you're not going to be productive. An environment that doesn't support your goals, you create that environment, right? You create an environment whether which helps you thrive or fail. You get to decide. And if you're surrounded by people who are not supporting your goals, you have two things you could do: change the environment or get out of the environment. You can't change the people. That's another whole workshop for another day about people trying to change their husbands and their jobs and their coworkers and their neighbors, and everybody needs to change. Nobody needs to change. You need to change. All right. Now, how do you manage your time? So I want to teach you the concept of the one thing. And the one thing is the thing that you do, and once you do it, nothing else is necessary. You can read more about it in the book, The One Book by Gary Keller. But basically what it is like, if you look at the things that you need to do, what is the one thing that's going to give you forward momentum? Then you do that thing. And that's the thing you do every day. Like, for example, if for you, in order to be in like great mental health and feel good, and you just have to work out, that is your one thing. If for you, your family is not going to eat if you don't go to work, that is your one thing. So brain dumping is where you brain dump everything that needs to be done. I'm going to sit down for a second with my back starting to bother me. Sorry. So what you do is let me first read you something before I go there, because some of you are going to like spaz out when I talk about this. Management and efficiency studies in the workplace tell us that 1 hour of uninterrupted time is worth 3 hours of time that is constantly interrupted. Why am I sharing this? Because I'm about to tell you how to calendar your time, and that's going to require you to take 1 hour out of your week to do that. And many of you are going to say, oh my God, I don't have an hour. And I will counter argue with you. You do have an hour, because if I asked you to check how much time you spent on Facebook this entire week, this also shocks many of my clients, you spent more than an hour, guaranteed. You're already here. You've already spent an hour. Even if it's productive time, you do have time, correct? Okay. So the first thing you have to do once you brain dump is you decide. We're going to talk about the Eisenhower matrix next, but you Eisenhower matrix your list of all the things you get done. So for example, let's say the kids have a birthday party this week. You're like, okay, kids have a birthday party. I need to buy a gift. I need to respond to the RSVP. You write all those things down. All that stuff goes on the brain dump. Like, turn off your devices, turn off your computer. Like, it's literally you and your brain. What are all the things that I have in this like mental to-do list that I think I need to do? Put them all on paper. And I'm going to ask you to do it on a piece of paper, and there's a reason why. Because when you write it down, then you double like think about it in your mind. So after you do that, you're going to time block your time off. So if you have been saying, I need to start working out, and you have decided that that is your self-care, that is the first thing that goes on your calendar. You decide ahead of time how many times you're going to work out this week, and you put that on your calendar before you put anything else, right? And I'm not talking about your job. We're talking about the time that you have available that you don't go to work, obviously. Then you time block your one thing. So for example, if your one thing has to do with your kids, that one thing then goes on the calendar next. Then you time block your planning time. Remember, we're going to be taking 1 hour out of every week to do this thing. So put that on the calendar. When is that going to happen? And then cushion time blocks. Many of us don't cushion time blocks. And what that usually looks like is like you have a doctor's appointment at 9:30, and you also were like going to drop off your kid at 8 o'clock. And somehow, or 9 o'clock. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to drop off the kid and go to the doctor's office. And it's like, where's the time for when you're going to get to the doctor's office, right? That needs to be accounted for. So many of us underestimate how much time we need to do something, and then we overthink it, and then nothing gets done. And the other thing that I want you to be so comfortable with is just doing B+ work. Like, nothing needs to be perfect, right? Like, if you are trying to like complete something, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just do it, right? So many of us think, oh yeah, I'm a perfectionist. I'm so type A. Everything needs to be perfect. I respect that. But also, if nothing is done, then we don't even have evidence of you being a type A because nothing's ever done. So how do we know everything you do is perfect? It's not done. So it doesn't matter, right? Some of us get into, I want to do this. I want to do this. Okay, your result lines are showing that your thoughts are not that you want to do that because you're not doing it. Just do it. Just like Nike says, just do it, right? Now we're going to get into the Eisenhower matrix. Before you ask me how you're going to do these 5 million things on your to-do list that you can't do, we're going to get into the Eisenhower matrix, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Okay, so if you're not familiar with President Dwight Eisenhower, a quick Google search will reveal who he was, but he was literally one of the most efficient human beings that ever lived. And he created this system called the Eisenhower matrix, or the Eisenhower box, or the Eisenhower square. So you have your whole brain dump with you. So now in the brain dump, I want you to label all the things, whether they're urgent or not urgent. Then, when you decide which ones are urgent, I want you to decide which ones are important and not important. And the ones that are not urgent, if they're not urgent but important, and then if they're not urgent and not important, they go in this box, okay? Box number 1 are all the things that are both urgent and important. Those are the things you do. Those are the things you're going to be calendaring after you're going to be calendaring those after the time blocking your time off, and you're going to be do that next, okay? Not urgent, you're going to schedule. So this can be done within the next week or 2. So you're going to put it on the calendar for the time frame that it can get done in. Like, for example, if it's something that is not time bound but probably needs to be done at the end of the month, put it on next week's schedule, okay? If it is not important but it's urgent, you delegate it. So many of you want to be everything to everyone, do all the things, and never want to let anybody help you, never ask for help, never communicate. I really, really, really urge you to listen to episode 7 and episode 27 of my podcast, where I talk to you about the mental load of motherhood, and I also talk to you about things that you should be outsourcing as a working mom if you are financially capable of doing so. I like to make this joke, and I think it's Cardi B. I don't cook, I don't clean. And I know that I am so blessed to be able to pay for those services, but I also don't go to the grocery store because Instacart is gold, and I wish I created that app because I would like just be living on a yacht somewhere. But like, there are reasons these systems are set up. I don't need to physically go to a grocery store in order to have food on my table when it costs me maybe an extra $10 to be able to do that. I understand that many are not able to do it, but if this is something that you can financially accommodate, then do it, because the time that you save is so much worth more than the time that you would spend going to the grocery store. That's time that you could be spent working on your one thing, time that you could spend practicing self-care, time that could be spent spending time with your kids, spending time with your spouse, right? Delegate, ask for help. Like, you don't have to do everything. And then, if it's not important and not urgent, don't do it. Use your permission slip. No. Okay. Now, a few parting thoughts. I want you to think about this. What do you want to decide about time, right? What is the life that you want? I can't choose that for you. What is the life that you want? Oh, I gotta sit my old back down again. Okay. What is the life that you want? What do you want to use your life and time for? I want you to think about that 24 hours, if you had 24 hours left to live, and use that to answer and appraise these questions. And then, what do you value most? What do you want to decide that you're not going to let it steal your time anymore? Is it worrying? Is it buffering? Is it procrastinating? Is it saying yes to things that you don't want to be saying yes to? What do you want to decide about those things? So I'm going to check the comments and see if anybody has any questions, and then I will go through this last one because I don't want to go over time. Thank you for your patience, everybody, and for allowing me to be lazy. All right. Amanda, if they never left the cave, they would starve to death anyway, right? Right. So if you never left the cave, we wouldn't be here, because I know that I come from a long line of ancestors who were like, get out the damn cave, go get some food. Also, we're not going to get killed by the lion. We're going to kill a lion and eat a lion for dinner. That's why I'm here. I talked about this recently in honor of like the women in my heritage, especially in my maternal heritage, because I'm more intimate with those people. I've known them, I knew my great grandmother, I knew my grandmother and my mom, and just watching those, right? My great grandmother, Esther, she was about 4 foot nothing. She was the short lady, worked so hard. My great grandmother used to like walk around with these cast iron pans to sell them to people like in the village. When I think about the life that I'm living now, it's beyond her wildest dreams, right? So, how can I not honor the hustle that my great grandmother walked from village to village selling pans? How can I not honor the hustle of my grandmother Elizabeth, who worked so hard to provide for not just her children, but her sisters and brothers' children, who worked so hard to invest in land and properties and take care of everybody's children and take care of neighbors and friends and all those people? How can I not honor that? I have this one life to live, right? So not only did my ancestors escape the cave, I'm here because they hustled to get here, right? They left crumbs on the way so that I would have a trail that they had already blazed. I don't need to create a trail. It's already there, right? When I think about my grandmother, I'm just like in awe of all the things that she achieved. Who am I not to achieve those things? When I think about my mom coming to America at, gosh, how old was she? 38, my current age? No, I can't do math. 36, right? To give us a better life. Who am I not to do better? I know that was a total segue, but I just thought about that in terms of our ancestors in the caves. Okay, Hafiz says, consistency is truly the key to changing your life. I agree 100%. If you find something that helps you achieve your goal and you decide to do it religiously, which is a real challenge, given time, you will have totally changed your life. Yeah, and you have absolutely changed the trajectory of your own life by deciding that you will make for more and deciding to be a dentist. So if I can offer you any evidence, your brain already created that, right? Like, think about all the thoughts that you thought when you were a nurse, that this is available to me, and you did it, right? One of the exercises that I give my coaching clients is, imagine that you've achieved the thing that you want to achieve. Write yourself a letter from the future and tell your present self all the things that you did to get here. That is gold. That is where all the magic happens. Okay, so if you want to dive deeper into the work, I encourage you to listen to my podcast, the Stethoscopes to Swaddle podcast. Follow me on social media if you're not following me yet. I tried to put the Instagram, obviously failed at that. Instagram, I'm Stethoscopes to Swaddle. On Facebook, I am Shira Bergbauer. And then if you want to dive even deeper with me, to work one-on-one with me in the Balanced Working Mom Formula Coaching, please sign up for a free 1-hour breakthrough consultation. And by the way, you don't have to be a mom to work with me. You don't even have to be a woman to work with me. I think that all of us can create so much magic from our brains. And my magic sauce is that I help my clients see their own brains and create so many breakthroughs. And one of my clients is on this live, Amanda. I love her. She's one of my many clients. And just the growth that we have worked on together this year in her own life, her relationships, her marriage, her job, everything, her business. That is why I'm doing the work that I'm doing, because she's a mom of a 1-year-old Deacon, and she's doing great. Many of my moms have littles. I think the oldest kid that my coaching client I think it's a 9-year-old. Um, and I have anywhere from infants to, yeah, 9-year-olds. So this journey is magical. If you are wondering what a life coach does, the best way for me to describe it, if you ask me, well, I have a therapist, what is the difference between a life coach and a therapist? I actually highly recommend that my coaching clients have had a therapist in their life, because there's a lot of SHIT to work on from the past. And my job as the coach is to show you your future. You literally invest in coaching to see your own blind spots, and you invest in coaching because your future self deserves it. If you think about the most magical life that you want, I want you to know that it is 100% available to you. I think about my daughter when she says she's a princess, and she truly believes that. And I think, if my 3-year-old can believe she's a princess, who am I not to believe that I am worthy of love and belonging, right? We are living in such an amazing time where women are showing up, doing the work, doing the past work, doing the future work, building magical lives, being an example of what's possible for each other, and leaning in and bringing everybody along. When I share my own motherhood journey, the one thing that is so important to me is that, one, if a woman struggles with postpartum mental health, that she is so aware that there's another side to it, that it doesn't last forever, that she can ask for help, that there's always room at my table, always. Even if you don't become a coaching client of mine, there's always room at my table, because when I show up to record my podcast, when I create content for social media, I create it with that person in mind that may not be ready for coaching, that may not have the access to coaching, but still gets what they came for. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all of you that have honored me by showing up live today. I truly, truly appreciate your time. I hope that you learned something. Remember, I want you to go and implement at least 2 to 3 things that you learned today. I will link the sign up, or you can DM me if you want to sign up from an email list, and I will I will register you on there, so you can get the audio replay and the video replay if you would like to watch it later. I had originally planned on creating a whole workbook, and I may complete the workbook for a future session. I just felt like it would be more valuable to show up and just talk about it. Thank you for your patience. Like I said, my back is like literally like tied in a knot. So I appreciate you being patient with me and for showing up. I'm just going to check the comments one more time. And yeah, Amanda, oh, you're just like, you're my like hype woman. Amanda says, it has been incredible. She's talking about her coaching with me. My relationships with my in-laws, my bank account, and so much more has changed. Of course it has. Look at your brain, girl. Your brain is magical. Amanda and I have worked in the thought this year that we are magical unicorns, and our goal is to be an example of what's possible to all women. Be an example of what's possible for moms, especially moms who are in medicine, who want to start businesses. We are like ready to bring you along with us. We want to show you that time freedom is possible, and that we really can create the life that we want. It is so available to us, right? I'm gonna like annoy you guys because I love Hamilton so much and I have to do this. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now, right? Like, it's a great time to be alive, y'all. If you're catching this on the replay, thank you. Please feel free to comment, replay, share your comments, share this with your friends who might need it. I appreciate y'all. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will give it a couple of minutes, and then oh, thank you so much. This was great, says Amanda. Hafiz says, this is great. I agree with Amanda. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for showing up. And full disclosure, when I talked about being okay with B+ work, that is something that I still work on. The first time I rescheduled this workshop I honestly was not feeling well. And the next time I rescheduled it was because I wanted it to be perfect. had a conversation with my coach, and I was like, I don't know why I wanted to be perfect. I'm afraid. Like, again, same thing, Hafiz. That's why I wanted to share this. I was like, what if nobody shows up? What if they hate it? What if they think it's stupid? The workbook is not ready. And then after that coaching, I was like, you know what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to help one person. And I'm going to tell you something. The same day that I decided to do it, Amanda, I sent this to Amanda, so I'm going to scroll through because I sent it to Amanda and another one of my coaching clients. But I read this email from Seth Godin that like blew my mind. I'm going to read this email to recap this whole conversation. Who am I to walk up to somebody at a party and introduce myself? Who are you to start a new project? Who are they to give a talk on the main stage? Don't raise your hand. Someone might have a better question. Don't ship that work. It's not ready. There are endless excuses, comparisons, and reasons to hold back, unless you're on lifeguard duty and someone is drowning. In that situation, even if you're not the best lifeguard in the world, and even if the water isn't the perfect temperature, and even if you don't quite remember how to do the latest version of the cross chest carry, you jump in the water because it's not for you, it's for them. Generosity unlocks doors inside of us. So, all this to say, when I changed my perspective about how ready I was going to be for this workshop, I was like, you know what? There's somebody drowning in time management, and I'm going to be the lifeguard. And I'm not going to be trying to save the people in the other swimming pool. I'm saving the people in my swimming pool. And today, when I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to stand today, like, I am literally like, I feel like an old lady. I'm hoping I didn't like majorly injure my back, but it's like super tight and it hurts. But I was like, you know what? You don't have to stand. Create your slides, show up, talk to the people. They will get what they came for. And based on the comments, y'all got what you came for. So here's me jumping in the pool to save the person that needed a lifeguard. So anybody here struggling with wanting to show up and not conquering their fear, I want you to know somebody is waiting for you to do that thing so their life can change. Hafiz, I don't know if this is for you, but whatever is holding you back, maybe somebody's waiting for you to do that thing. Maybe somebody's waiting for you to be an example for them. So why not do it anyways? Okay, I am 100% again going to talk about this. Link it in the notes. You need to get this book, Atlas of the Heart, Brene Brown. Especially if you're my coaching client and we have not talked this week, you must get this book because you need to know what feelings are. I know a lot of y'all don't know what feelings are. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate y'all. Y'all are amazing. I appreciate y'all. And I'm going to just put this here real quick if you wanted to see where to find me. Again, if you want to work one-on-one with me, just book a breakthrough call. I'm here. I'm ready for you. I'm here to hold space for you. Even if we don't end up working together as client and coach, you will get so much value from that call, I guarantee you. Thank you for your time. Peace, love. I love you all and appreciate you. Bye now. You are enough.